Good morning. Sunday, big picture time. John Lasseter. Do you know who John Lasseter is? All of the Pixar movies that were created by John Lasseter. Toy Story, Toy Story 2, Cars, A Bug's Life, you name it. John Lasseter. Was A Bug's Life one of them? Not sure. But John Lasseter was one of the founders of Pixar and the creative force behind all of Pixar's movies. He's won Academy Awards, and he was given a Special Achievement Award by the Academy Awards. Born in Hollywood, California, Tim Burton was born at about the same time, not in Hollywood, but just north of Hollywood in California. Both of them attended a class at the California Art Institute that was created by Disney specifically to create animators, as Walt used to call them, his Imagineers. And can you imagine, John Lasseter, there was a class of 9 students in the first class. I think it's California Institute of Arts, and Walt and Disney creators had created a special program. And in that first class were both John Lasseter and Tim Burton. Tim Burton, by the way, there is a collection of all of his works starting when he was a kid that I saw at the California Art Museum that I think ended up in France, but they have a collection of his stuff, and it's remarkable. Most of the characters that he did movies on go back to things that he was doing when he was a kid, and in fact, he did a fully illustrated manuscript, a mini cartoon that he sent to Disney when he was a kid at like the age of 7 or 9, and they sent him a letter back telling him that they weren't going to use his idea because, of course, it was very dark. It was a Tim Burton idea. But they encouraged him and told him that this project looks really great and keep doing what you're doing. It's remarkable that he did it and remarkable that they still have it. And when you look at how he does his stuff, he still writes like a little kid. He uses yellow pads and he writes in these large letters like a little kid. It's unbelievable. But he and Lasseter end up in this class. They graduate and they go to work for Disney. Lasseter is working for Disney on a series of projects. He's pretty openly critical of Disney at the time, saying that they haven't had any great creative force and they haven't made a great animated movie since 101 Dalmatians. This is in the early 80s that he's doing this, which, by the way, he was right. And Disney at the time, Michael Eisner had not taken over yet, but Disney at the time was not very functional. And in fact, the animators were scared to present ideas, and the place really wasn't working very well. So Lasseter sees the movie Tron, which came out in the early 80s, and it combined live film with computer animation. And as soon as he sees it, he says, this is the wave of the future. And he starts working on a movie called, he wanted to do A Brave Little Toaster, the kids' book, but instead they started doing Where the Wild Things Are, I think. But he's putting together an idea to do this project. Disney had him do a short film doing computer-aided drafting, which he did. And after they pitched the idea of doing the Wild Things, Disney fired him. This guy was born in Hollywood. All he ever wanted to do was work for Disney. The first time that he saw Steamboat Willie, he knew in his heart that this is what he wanted to do, is he wanted to create cartoons. He says in his interview, I looked at my parents and I said, you can actually get paid for doing this? And they said, yes. And he said, this is what I want to do with my life. Coincidentally, by the way, Tim Burton did a couple of films for Disney and kept pitching the film that he ended up making several years later called Zero, which is a story of a dog that dies and becomes a ghost and goes and hangs out with its boy as a ghost. And Disney fired Tim Burton also. Well, when Disney fired Lasseter, he thought his life was over. However, Disney had rejected the idea of using computer-aided drafting in order to make movies because they were afraid of it. they looked at it as the possibility that all of their animators were going to lose their jobs, and so they rejected the entire technology. Well, along came Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs saw this technology, knew that Disney had rejected it, and decided to start Pixar. And when John Lasseter got fired, that was the final step for Steve Jobs, and that is when he started develop Pixar, and Steve Jobs became one of the founders of Pixar. Also coincidentally, when Tim Burton got fired, he got hired by another studio and was given the creative opportunity to do a whole series of movies that became hugely successful, starting out with Edward Scissorhands. What's the point of these stories? The point of these stories is to trust in what's going on with your life. When John Lasseter got fired, he thought his life was over. However, if he never would have got fired, probably Jobs would have still started Pixar, although he himself said, you know, it was when John showed up that I knew I had to start this company, because I knew that Disney wasn't going to take this technology and do what it could, which he couldn't believe. And John brought not only the talent, but the creative force to do something with it. You know, remember, Steve Jobs never wrote a line of code. Steve Jobs never animated anything, but yet he started 2 Fortune 50 companies because he knew how to put the people around him who knew how to do the work. What did Jobs bring? Jobs brought the money, and Jobs brought the confidence. And when he started the company with Lasseter, he said, do whatever you want. Here's the money, here's the opportunity. I've got the backing of all the people. Go create whatever you want to create. And here came Toy Story. When Tim Burton got fired, Disney wasn't allowing him to do the creative things that he wanted to do also, and the new company that he went to did. Ultimately, Burton did in fact get hired back by Disney. Years later, they actually begged him to come back, and he said, fine, I'll come back and make a movie with you, but then you're going to make Zero, the movie that I always wanted to make with you, and you refuse to do. Shh. So the point of the story is, trust in the outcomes that are happening. Most of the time, people that get to their outcome do not get there on the path that they initially thought they were going to go. And in fact, almost all the time, it doesn't go that way. It ends up going a different way. Stay focused on what your outcome is, know what your outcome is, and be flexible. Remember our steps to the ultimate success formula. Number 1, know your outcome. Number 2, and remember, when you know your outcome, it's got to be specific. Have specificity. Know exactly what you want. Number 2, take massive action. Number 3, have sensory acuity. Am I getting closer to my goal or further away? Don't keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. And then number 4, if you're not getting close, change your approach. And how often? Until you get the result. Keep changing the approach, changing the approach, changing the approach until you get the result that you want. If you want to speed up the process, find somebody who's done what you want to do and do what they do. That was my comment yesterday with Grant Cardone. If you want to be rich like he did in terms of cash flow, that's one way to do it. Not everybody wants that. Some people want the Dave Ramsey type life. And if you want the Dave Ramsey type life, which is no debt and you don't have to worry about monthly bills, then follow that program. There's certainly nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with the Dave Ramsey program. It doesn't resonate for me, but it certainly does for a lot of people. It resonates for my dad. My dad is the Dave Ramsey guy, and he's happy as hell that he followed that program. That's what he wants to do. But both of these men turned out to be unbelievably successful, and they knew it at an early age. Both of them knew at 5, 6, 7, this is what they were going to do. But none of them thought that they were going to get fired by Disney. When they got into the first class of this program, and for both of them, they were like, this is it. I've now got it. I'm going to go work my butt off, and I'm going to work for Disney, and I'm going to create amazing projects, and this is going to be my life. And for both of them, within a couple of years, they get fired by Disney. Turns out to be the best thing that ever happened. John Lasseter got to be part owner and part founder of Pixar. Down the road, he does Toy Story, he does Toy Story 2, he does Cars. Disney decides that it wants Pixar back. Michael Eisner comes along. He merges with Pixar and Disney. They decide to work together. And Jobs said, fine, I'll do that. I'll merge together. But then I want a board seat on Disney, and John Lasseter gets to do whatever he wants. So John Lasseter ended up being able to come back to Disney and tell them what he was going to do instead of having to ask. Same thing that Tim Burton got to do down the road. And Tim Burton never would have got to make the movies that he made had he stuck with Disney. They never would have made Edward Scissorhands or some of those other movies, Beetlejuice. That type of stuff, wasn't going to get done. So, have a great Sunday, everybody. We have a ton of people up and saying hi this morning. It is great to see you all. Mr. Lampy is up. My cousin Chrissy is up. Happy New Year to you two. Amy Amadeo is up. Hey, Amy down in Florida, right? I think you're down in Florida. Great to see you this morning. My man, Christopher Dakin, is up. Chris, you're doing some serious stuff after the first of the year. I've been watching. Wendell Klosla and April are also... April, you should be resting. You need to get ready for work tomorrow. Good morning to both of you. Dolores, as always, very good morning. Val Kabatsky is up. Good morning to you. You guys are all talking to each other. That's great. One door closes, another door opens. Great to see you guys all. Thank you so much for watching. Happy New Year, everybody. We're all in this together. Let's take care of each other. Thanks for watching.